What's going on, everybody? My name is Curtis, and I'm here with my co-commentator JB. And
Hello, how's it going?
Today we're starting the semifinals of the 100% tournament. And directly after, we're going to have the bronze match for third and fourth, and then we're going to have the grand finals. And this is a single elimination bracket, so just to put that out there. We're going to be starting here in a little bit with Univa and Crawfish. Just getting a little bit more practice in. I'm going to wait a little until they get to the title screen. So I hope everybody in chat's excited for the conclusion of this tournament.
It's going to be a fun night for everyone tonight. It's going to be nothing but Bob all night.
Absolutely. Alright, we've had the countdown, so we'll see them start any minute now.
And they're off.
No, we will be switching out commentators between races. I believe everyone in this tournament's done RSS, right?
I believe so, yeah.
I'm not quite sure which late game route Crawfish uses. I think
Crawfish does like the Sand Mountain before everything else.
I know Univa does. Univa does the route where he ends with the hand enabled, but I'm not sure about Crawfish. Saves a little bit of time to end with the hand enabled, just from some menuing time, and also some time saving downtown, because you don't have to disable the hand again, and you can do things in a different order because of that.
Yeah, speaking of different order, it looks like Crawfish is opting to get the top of the pineapple before entering Jellyfish Fields. Just a minor thing, but it is notable.
It doesn't lose any time to do that, but that's probably like a remnant of if he used to do the walk around instead of RSS.
That sounds about right, because I know Crawfish used to take the walk.
And sometimes people are just more comfortable doing RSS like straight from a load instead of from on top of the pineapple. I've heard some people use like music cues for when to jump and spin and stuff.
That's interesting.
Alright,
so both runners coming up on RSS now.
Miss from Univa. It's unfortunate. Miss from Crawfish, though. So if you're unfamiliar with sort of the routing in this game and sort of the reason we do the things we do, it might seem kind of weird that we're like going out of bounds here to just skip the Poseidon, because we have to fight Poseidon anyway, because it's 100%. But the reason we do this is because the sort of goal of the first sort of like third or half of this run almost is you want to get to 40 spatulas as fast as possible to enter Industrial Park, because having cruise boosting for the later parts makes pretty much everything else after that so much faster.
Absolutely. I'd say like 2/3 of the run in 100% around there is cruise boosting, while 1/3 is the non-cruise boosting segment. But the reason why we skip this and Robo Sandy and all that is because going to Hub 3 without the power-ups is faster. It helps us get to Industrial Park faster than just staying in Hub 1 and 2. So because of that, we can speed up the second 2/3 of the run.
Yeah, going to Dream early lets us get some spatulas that normally wouldn't be accessible to us until after we've beaten Industrial Park.
There we go. Both runners nailing RSS.
Yeah. Alright, that's good. It
That's
kind of took
good.
a while, but at least it's kind of close after that.
Yeah, there's not that big of a time difference between the two runners at the moment.
Yeah, like I was saying, having those dream spatulas early lets us enter Poseidon earlier, and being able to have the bubble bowl lets us do SBA, and having those 8 spatulas before Industrial Park lets us put downtown later in the game. Because before SBA, we would do like 7 of the 8 spatulas and all but 1 sock before Industrial Park, and it was like a 9-minute segment.
Yeah, downtown in late game is so much faster. Cruise boosting speeds it up so much. It's really great that SBA enabled us to do this route with downtown late.
It also enhances the run in more ways because if you're familiar with this category, we enable the hands in one of the portions after Industrial Park. And the hand strats in this category get sped up a whole lot more when you have downtown available, because you can enable the hand really fast there.
Alright, both runners attempting roll buck.
This looks good.
And both runners nailing it.
This is like super close. Even though they both missed RSS a bunch, it's still really close.
It is. So just 5 minutes into the run, both runners are already in the third hub of the entire game, which you would normally not be able to access until you're 40 spatulas in. Or 41, rather, after beating Robo Patrick. But this is just a small testament as to how busted this game really is.
They talked to Mr. Krabs here to get this warp for Krusty Krab. They're going to be coming back here a lot later. But it's faster to get that warp right there than to go back and do it later. And a dream has always been one of my favorite segments. You just do so much in comparison to like the casual way of doing things.
Oh, both runners missing super bounce skip. Crawfish missed the jump, but Univa got spiked to the side, it looks like.
Yeah, all of these spikes on these blocks have their own individual hitboxes, and some of them just send you at awful angles to the sides.
Oh, and Univa falling short.
Alright, so this is a bit of a rough start from both of them, but you know, these guys have obviously put in a bunch of practice into some of these late game sections, so...
As Curtis was saying earlier, Crawfish just unlocked Squidward's Dream Warp, which we will definitely come back to later with cruise boosting. There's a lot of backtracking. Alright, so Crawfish attempting oil skip. Nails it first try.
He chose to go for a left side oil skip, which is probably one of the easiest strats to set up for that trick, but yeah, it's mostly like preference which side of the rocks you stand on. Univa looks like he's in the middle a little bit.
Univa nails it first try too.
One day this whole section of Sandy's Dream is going to be in late game.
Boy. So what's happening here is we are coming over here as Sandy to activate a small sliver of a checkpoint that just kind of pokes through the bottom side of the acorn shell. And by death warping here, you'll spawn right back at the top, which lets you skip pretty much the entire slide.
They have to use the manure to die because the hand is disabled. This trick isn't even possible with the hand enabled because the hand takes you as you approach the acorn. And then while they're here, we're going to open the box for later to use when they do the swingers fight, and then go and get some socks here. The sock routing in this category used to be really nice. We still have 10 socks exactly when we go to Industrial Park, but now we have like or sorry, 10 socks exactly when we go to Poseidon. But now we have 2 extra socks, ideally, by the time we go to Industrial Park. Just because it's faster to get some socks earlier rather than later.
I know there have been some like recent findings too. For example, like the Goo Lagoon cave socks early is faster, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's equal in speed to doing them later, but the fact that you can do them earlier can make some other strats faster down the road.
Exactly. Alright, so what Crawfish just did there is, there's 2 things that go on in Squidward's house. When you jump 10 times, that completes the objective of annoying Squidward, and breaking all of the items in his house spawns the sock. So we leave his music stand last, so we break the stand and collect the spatula at the same time, and that plays the cutscene and the spatula animation at the same time. So you don't have to like watch them both separately.
You're gonna see a little taxi skip from Crawfish. If you're standing within the zone to get that text box that he got, like while that animation's playing, you can enter before the animation's over. Usually it saves around like a second or so per taxi pad.
Looks like Univa's attempting it too.
This cutscene skip in Goo Lagoon always scares me.
Oh, me too. I still don't even attempt it because I'm afraid the hand is gonna grab me out. Alright, to collect the sock at the top of the tower, Crawfish getting it first try, you have to perform a 1-frame jump, where when you get damaged, there's 1 frame between his damage animation and his falling animation, where you're at a grounded state. So because of that, you can perform any grounded move on that single frame, and in this case, a jump. Looks like Univa got it first try too.
Yeah, if you want to do that sock a little easier, you can spam the bash button, but that's kind of unreliable because you're banking on mashing that button on the 1 frame where you're detected as grounded. So
yeah, it's definitely more reliable to time a single jump.
The reason you can't just mash the jump button there is because when you can do your 2 jumps like really quickly in between each other, and that kind of cuts off the height of the first one. So even if you get the 1 frame, if you're spamming the jump button, you're not gonna have enough height to make it up there to get the sock. And I don't think we have like an official reason decided for like why Sponge Glide works. Like, what we think is happening is the properties of the slam just don't let him fall any further at a certain point. And if you have backwards momentum from a damage boost or like forwards momentum from a cruise boost, then you just get like sent flying wherever you were going.
It's a very strange tech that we still don't 100% understand. What both runners did just there is they threw a Thunder Tiki at the ticket booth and drowned at the same time, which skips a pretty long cutscene. And that's like 1/2 of the objective for Mr. Krabs. And we're going to complete the second half after the Poseidon boss fight.
Yeah, so they're just completing some more objectives towards the end of Goo Lagoon. Kind of going through going backwards through the area because they went through the pier in an unintentional way with the sponge gliding.
Oh yeah, that's pretty important to mention. The Sponge Glide pretty much lets you sequence break all of Goo Lagoon, so you complete it from end to beginning. So as you can see, we just like cut through the entire caves level, and now we're like at the end of the castle level.
They're going to be coming back to like the front of the castle later on when they have cruise boosting to do the save the children and over the moat objectives. There's actually 3 Goo Lagoon splits in 100%. I think this is the only category where we backtrack to an area more than twice. We do this with Goo Lagoon because we need to come back in the mid-game portion after Poseidon to do SBA. And we also need to come back in the late game portion after Industrial Park because cruise boosting makes a lot of things faster there.
I believe Dream is also done in 3 segments too, because in mid-game you do Forbidden Skip, and then in late game you do Squid Dream and all that.
In an ideal route, there would only be 2 Dream segments. You would have one before Poseidon and then one after Industrial Park at some point. But
oh yeah,
the route that the majority of people decide to use, there's 3 segments. Yeah, I want to take this opportunity here in the most exciting portion of the run to mention. I want to thank GSA for having us on their stream and hosting this tournament for us. It's actually a really big honor to be able to participate in this. And also, I want to say, if you have the ability to go to PACE, I would highly recommend it, because I couldn't go last year and I've only heard positive things about it, so if you haven't signed up for it, I would highly recommend you do so soon.
I highly recommend it too, and I also want to extend thanks to GSA for having me on tonight. I went to PACE only for like a day last year, but every single hour I was there was a blast, and I am more than excited to go this year. If you're thinking about going and you're able to, I would definitely recommend try to make it this year.
Oh, nice flying,
yeah, if you're unfamiliar with kind of what's going on in Poseidon, so Robo Sandy has triggers located around like the rings of the edge of the stage, and you have to like get her near those positions to get like optimal like attacks from her, because otherwise she'll like run all the way across the arena before she attacks you. So this whole fight is just a matter of manipulating her position by running around in specific ways, and then just making sure you get like optimal hits on her and slamming to knock her head off at the optimal points.
Yeah, it's pretty much a walk in a specific spot simulator over and over. As Curtis said earlier, very exciting.
Yeah, it's not exactly an auto-scroller because you do need to like be making sure you're doing the movement right, but it's definitely like one of the low points of 100%.
Literally filled with openings. Oh, what an uppercut!
Yeah, these guys kept it close after Goulagoon. That's going to be pretty exciting, but SBA is like the eternal swing point in any category that has it. So we'll have to see how close they are after Goulagoon, after the second trip to Goulagoon.
Like, they may be close now, but the run is far from over, and even after SBA, there's so many more things that can decide the fate of this race. It's gonna be a very exciting match. All right, so Univa is finishing up Poseidon. Crawfish not far behind, and both runners are going to return to Goulagoon.
It's looking like around a 10-second difference right now. We didn't know this for a long time. You can actually like climb up the front of this bumper boats area without having to use the stairs. It wasn't really useful for a long time because back before SBA we would have came from the area we spawn at after doing the sponge glide.
So, yeah, so there was really like no reason to climb up from the other side. Like, every runner was used to using the stairs because it was optimal.
It's like Univa is not getting Wakatiki early, and looks like Crawfish is.
Very interesting.
We're gonna see a little bit of a route deviation here. Crawfish is gonna get an invisible checkpoint by the Wakatiki machine. Yeah, there's just like a little. It's like the same thing as in Sandy's Dream. You can't see the checkpoint, but there's a checkpoint there. And now he has to avoid all the other checkpoints on the pier, so that after he gets like the last spatula under the pier, he's gonna respawn at that machine from a death orb. And yeah, doing things this way is faster than coming back for that stock later.
I haven't seen that performed in a run before. That's very interesting.
It looks like when I heard about this, the concept of doing the sock early, it looked like it was going to be a lot harder than it actually is. But it's honestly pretty free. You just go around that pole and avoid that checkpoint.
Up we go.
Looks like Univa's setup went pretty well, judging from how fast he got it. In a race situation, there's definitely no shame in taking some extra time to set this up just to make sure you get a good setup. Because it's a much bigger detriment if you try to rush it and get a bad setup. It's like
Univa's having a bit of trouble. Crawfish nails it.
If you rush the setup, you might end up getting a setup that doesn't work. So he's just opting to redo it here. Not gonna bother trying to make that bowl work any longer.
Alright, so how this trick works is, in each hole of the skee ball machine, there's a trigger that awards you a certain amount of shiny objects when you shoot a bowling ball in. Thanks to disabling the hand, that allows us to walk inside the machine, which you normally would not be able to do. And getting 2 tikis, or in some cases 1 tiki, stuck inside the machine, you can cause the ball to kind of like glitch out in the hole. And as it like glitches back and forth, it activates the trigger extremely quickly. In some cases, every other frame. So, because of that, our shiny object count just goes through the roof. And that allows us to purchase 8 spatulas from Mr. Krabs, and also certain toll gates later in the game. This is a huge improvement to the category before it was discovered, because before this we had to grind in Goo Lagoon for like 15 minutes using a different method.
It was more like 11 to 12 minutes in Goo Lagoon. In Rock Bottom, the grinding was like 16 minutes or something ridiculous.
Oh yeah, museum grinding. And plus you like had to focus on it too, because it was pretty precise getting that hand grab. And you glide into the wall.
Yeah, almost like over a year ago, everyone thought that SBA was going to be like the death of this game. And it turns out it mostly, for the most part, it made everything better, I think.
I couldn't agree more. SBA was like truly a great discovery to be had. The implications at the time were pretty huge, but that's because it was like unknown what it was going to do. The biggest concern was any percent.
So Crawfish having some trouble here with fast whack. If you want to do like absolute safe strats, you can bowl like 3 out of 4 quadrants of these tikis. But
looks like Crawfish is opting for that now.
The way these tikis bob up and down kind of makes it so that like you have to bowl in specific times if you're doing things this way. Yeah, he left that one tiki off to the left. I didn't think that was gonna work.
I see what he was trying to do, but the damage boost from the goo flung him in the wrong direction. He wasn't able to reach it.
If he had just those 2 tikis on the right, then that would have been pretty easy to recover, but he left that one on the left there. So he had to
there we go.
Kind of bank on getting flung in that direction to get that. So it's going to look like Univa's a bit ahead here because he doesn't have to get that sock now, but he's going to have to get it later. So did Crawfish get the spatula from Krabs?
I don't know.
Is he doing the patented Goo Lagoon 4 route? The Flux patented route?
I didn't see if Univa got it either.
Univa is a spatula head, so I'm assuming he got it.
Looks like both runners go for the damage boost here.
I can appreciate that Crawfish cares about memes, wanting to do Goo Lagoon 4, but it does actually lose frames to do that because you have to consciously stop the menuing on Goo Lagoon at some point in this mid-game section to go back to that special. If you were like a TAS and didn't have to like make the conscious effort to stop there, then it probably wouldn't lose any time to do that, but yeah, I mean, not everyone is a TAS. So pretty good swingers fight from both of them.
Alright, so here comes part 2 of Dream, which is just one spatula. After... Not just one spatula, I mean... Yeah. So using a bowl boost on those spikes, you can kind of capture the forward speed from your bowl and get damage boosted all the way across, which saves a pretty good chunk of time. And then you can jump up to the spatula and just grab it, which is unintended. But with a well-spaced double jump, you can just get it and skip the rolling ball challenge.
A lot of new players have trouble with that jump spacing, but if you understand like the position you need to jump from and like how to jump it straight and everything, it's not that bad.
Alright, so in this part of the run, both runners are trading in all of their shiny objects for 8 Mr. Crab spatulas.
They're paying currency to the man himself.
So that...
So Crawfish is a spat behind from not getting the Winnetou Lagoon, so I don't think he has the option to do Sand Mountain 1 first, but I think it's likely that Univa is going to be doing that. Yeah, it looks like he is going to be doing Sand Mountain 1 first. This route saves about 2 seconds if you go for this Speedy Shoals strat where you catch this block cycle from the fountain. But if you're not doing this, then Murmler 1 is faster. Otherwise. So he missed a cycle, and that was really strange.
Wow.
He got his jumps back from the side of the block, so that saved him a bunch of time.
That was very Monka-esque.
There's another taxi skip right here. You could just like land on the ground and walk into it, but much faster to just land on top and do it like that.
You can also bowl into it from the beginning, like from the ground. But I think it's pretty precise. It's way easier to just jump on top of it. But in some cases, if you need extra shinies for some reason, you can get the stack and then bowl into it. And that doesn't really apply anymore, thanks to SBA.
Yeah, Guppy Mound is pretty easy. Everyone's been doing this since like their first day running the game. Not that bad. But falling off here can be pretty detrimental if it happens. So like you still need to pay attention in sections like these.
Meanwhile, Crawfish is doing a damage boost to collect a sock at the top of this pole.
Yeah, that sock
can
be... that sock is pretty annoying sometimes.
I agree. I don't like that sock at all.
If you don't get like the ideal movement leading up to the first like electric pole, then everything's like off cycle and it's just a mess.
Yeah, recovering it is very annoying. Plus, like the hitbox at the top of the pole is pretty weird. So Univa is completing Guppy Mound, and at the end of the slide, there's a combat challenge. And that goes for the other 2 slides in Sand Mountain 2. So in each slide, you get 2 spatulas in Sand Mountain. One for the slide itself, and one for the time challenge.
Yep.
There is actually like, I think a task-only way to skip this fight, but you know, you need the hand enabled to do it. And you can't really have the hand enabled for some of the jumps we make on Guppy Mound anyway, so it's just better to do the fight. But in the other slides, the developers made the gates low enough so that if you have a cruise boost, you can just bash over the gates. It's pretty easy. You can even do it without cruise boosting on slide 3. You can just use Sandy and jump off one of the buttons and skip the fight.
I love that strat so much.
So Crawfish doing these Towers of Power with the slams, which saves like only half a second optimally, and if you like miss one of the buttons, then you're just losing time. But in an ideal world, it's the optimal way to do this.
Back before we discovered it was half a second faster, we used the melons to press the buttons. And it's silly that slamming them saves time.
And
So what Crawfish is doing here is he's building up momentum on the side of the slide to jump all the way to this loading zone, pretty much. And we unlock that warp for later to skip the prawn boss fight with cruise boosting.
You can actually skip that fight early, but in a route without like insane strats for the dream spatulas that they did earlier, it doesn't really save that much time and it's a lot more difficult. So
yeah,
at the moment, nobody really does that at 100%, but maybe in the future at some point.
So using a series of weird collision and damage boosts, Crawfish climbs to the top of the security tunnel, skipping a massive part of this level.
He went for a lag strat there, where he tried to bowl that button and use the lag to make it like clip inside, but unfortunately didn't get it. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but it's pretty interesting, and it saves some time if you get it.
Such a cool strat.
So
it's neat how lag affects other things besides just clipping through.
Yeah,
oh, it looks like Crawfish is going for the ballroom stock early too.
Yeah, Crawfish knows about these updated routing strats.
Because again, similar to the Wakatiki sock, it was believed that it was faster in late game with cruise boosting, but that's not the case.
See, in the past, we used to get that sock early because it was faster than getting the one on the snack shack in the middle of the pier. But back then, it was that we only got that sock because we didn't used to get it on the way with Patrick on the way to SBA. And back when that sock was done earlier, it was with like different movement that went up to grab it before talking to crabs. So people used to think that getting that sock early was slower, but since then new movement was found that made it faster to get earlier.
On an unrelated note, Crawfish completes Goo Lagoon 3 by collecting Mr. Krabs' spatula.
Very impressive.
Very impressive indeed.
Crawfish
so Univa's attempting the slide storage momentum too.
He's gonna miss this cycle, unfortunately. Yeah, you can't make any movement mistakes here. Otherwise you'll miss the cycle. He's gonna miss another one. That's unfortunate. I thought Crawfish was one of the people that did 5 underwear strats for SM1C, but I guess not. Univa doing security tunnel. This is one of those areas where it either goes how you want it to go, or everything's just gonna fall apart. It's like everyone's used to setting up that bash into that moving anode thing the same way, and when it's in a different spot, it's just like awkward to set up.
Yeah, it totally screws up the muscle memory when you're like slightly off cycle. Same thing goes for the pole sock in Murmler earlier. If you miss that one first try, it's really tricky to recover. So it looks like Univa is going for ballroom sock early.
That's interesting that he gets this one early, but doesn't get Wakatiki early.
Maybe Univa didn't have enough time to learn like the checkpoint dodging and all that. But this one is pretty straightforward.
It's not that much time loss either way.
Yeah, it's only a few seconds, give or take.
And the beautiful routing in this game kind of falls apart because they're going to have more than 10 socks by the time they go to Patrick again. It breaks my heart. Yeah, trading a Patrick spatula here. This is actually the spatula that like doing prawn early would replace if you're not doing like the harder swinger strats in a dream. But yeah, obviously that doesn't really save that much time if you're doing this route.
Alright, so Univa is entering Krusty Krab, and There's two objectives here in 100%. One is to defeat all the robots to get Mr. Krabs' reward. And the second objective in 100% only is to destroy every single object inside the Krusty Krab. In doing so, spawns a sock.
Yeah, everyone kind of has their own way of doing this. And there is like an accepted fastest way to do this, but I don't know, this is a pretty technical segment, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like one of those deceptively hard segments.
There's a lot to do, and plus, like, the robots at the bottom are RNG in the way they move. So each and every one is going to be different.
Yeah, RNG really kind of like makes you think on the fly with this, because you're not gonna like destroy everything around these robots the same way every time.
Exactly.
Not a lot of people know this, but when you destroy all the robots here, you have to press B to get rid of the text box that says you've just defeated all the robots.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
I didn't know that for a long time. I was wondering why it would always drop my input when I went to bowl those wood tikis in that top right corner there. But it's because B actually clears that text box. So you have to press B to clear it and then B again to bowl.
That's crazy. I've never noticed it because by the time it disappears on its own, I would still be destroying things.
There's text boxes like those, for example, in like the middle of rooftops. When you respawn, the checkpoint text actually eats a B input. So if you don't clear the text box early, then you're always gonna get a second try cruise boost at best.
I know there's also some there's some loading triggers in Rock Bottom that if you press B, they just disappear. So that might also eat some inputs.
Rock Bottom is a well-designed level in every way.
I guess you could say it was the rock bottom of development, am I right? Uh-huh.
Look at that! The robot's made himself dizzy! That's the ticket!
So we've got our platform camping in Industrial Park, our Jigglypuff simulator right here. I feel like this phase 2 is like one of the most scary phases when you're doing a race. Because I feel like we've seen a lot of times that people would die in phase 2 and lose like a minute. A lot of the time from what I've seen, it has to do with like dropping inputs in between these hits and just like walking off into the goo, because Sandy's damage animation is pretty long in comparison to Spongebob's, so if you like, fall into the goo here, you don't really have time to jump out before you just fall in a second time and drown.
Yeah, phase 3 can be pretty terrifying too, because it's programmed for some reason where if you walk off the edge of the conveyor belt, it just insta-kills you instead of just like damage boosting you back onto the conveyor belt.
Yeah, you have to be pretty careful in phase 3 to avoid dying. You also have to be on top of things to be able to get in the nips and react to where he's going to land. So you can lose as little time as possible. So they're about a hit on Robopad behind at this point, but Crawfish does have that sock and Blue Beam that Univa doesn't have. So I think they might be pretty close to even, if not a slight lead from Crawfish.
One more douse with that stuff, and
This strat at the start of phase 3 always scares me. Because if you mistime that slam, you can just drown. Which doesn't really lose that much time because he doesn't vomit when you respawn, but it is a little tiny time loss if that happens.
It's still very annoying when it happens.
That's the ticket!
So in phase 3, RoboPatrick can only land at the edge of the arena for Spongebob to bowl. And there exist strats that allow you to manipulate where he lands. So you're going to notice both runners going into specific spots on the conveyor belts, and then running back to the front. The most widely used strat is the back corners, which most of the time lands him right in the front of the stage.
Oh, that's an unfortunate spot.
Most of the time. But sometimes
Looks
it
like
can go
SpongeBob has
pretty
an
wrong and
opportunity
you have to
here.
walk.
That's the ticket.
In my opinion, the best spots to stand before he starts spinning is like on the back corner that's on the same side that he landed on. So if Robopat's like in the front left, if you're on the front platform, you want to like go to the left side and go in that corner. But if he's like on the front right corner, you want to go to like the back right corner of the stand. I mean, everyone kind of has their own way of doing this. Univa gets a landing in the back twice. That's really unfortunate.
That hurts.
But yeah, everyone does have their own kind of ways of doing this depending on where he lands.
Alright, so in the pineapple segment, there exists some bowl boosts going through these doors. When you press bowl and R at the same time, it zips you across the map as you saw there, right there. And here comes the first cruise boost of the run. And we collect the sock inside of SpongeBob's closet. Or attic, rather. Library.
Yeah, the library.
Yeah.
Library. It doesn't really matter when you do this sock, but it's better to do it early since you're like already like going in the menu to like go somewhere else after Industrial Park. So yeah, we are going to see a route split here. Crawfish is doing the route. This is like the best route that doesn't end with the hand enabled, so yeah, you're going to see him entering downtown and doing the hand enabled late game portion all at once. And Univa is going to be starting with the hand-disabled late-game portion and going straight to Sand Mountain, which in the past, like, 6 months or so has become, like, by far the hardest part of 100%.
I mean, Sand Mountain has truly turned into a gauntlet. Both segments have LCBs and DCBs.
It used to be, like, one of the, like, easier but, like, really long parts of 100%. It's like Univa's gonna go for the Sandy time challenge here.
So how that works is, normally you would not be able to do the time challenge as Sandy, but using cruise boosting, you can accept the time challenge while the cruise boost momentum slides him toward the bus stop. So you can switch to Sandy with the trigger to accept the challenge still active. So once the switch is made, you can accept that time challenge and begin as Sandy. And the reason why that matters is because you can complete the time challenge and also collect all 3 socks in the same run. So you can pretty much get everything done with one trip.
Normally you wouldn't be able to go up on top of these ice pillars as Spongebob doing the time challenge, but with this exploit, you can just go up here as Sandy.
Yeah.
It is actually pretty tight if you're kind of new to doing this movement. But if you kind of like know where to jump and where to avoid sliding to not lose your speed, it's not actually that tight, in all honesty.
Yeah, you can usually make it there with like several seconds left on the clock.
There are a bunch of spots towards like the middle of the slide, I think, where like if you just slide in the wrong spot, you lose all your speed for no reason because the slides are well programmed.
Yeah. It's like on the edge of certain parts of the slide, you'll just lose all of your momentum. So it's much safer to stay in the center and like jump way before the edge.
Meanwhile, Crawfish doing my favorite segment in the entire run. Just kidding, I hate this segment so much. So the majority of people, I think, use audio cues and music cues to determine when to jump on those. It looks like he was actually really early there. He must have got like a really good second bungee or something. But yeah, you want to
wrapped up that third bungee pretty well.
Yeah, most runners know the cycle that Crawfish more or less got for the third bungee. So you want to just make sure if you're doing C-Needle this way that you're jumping down into the bungees at the correct times. Alright, Crawfish now onto JF2. In my opinion, this is probably like the second hardest late game level in 100%. if you're doing like most of the optimal strats. Crawfish doing the easier strat here only loses about like 4 seconds or so, but it's a lot easier. I wonder if he's gonna do barrel skip here. I don't know if he does that route. It looks like he will. So normally down here where these like platforms are down here, you're supposed to hit this button to spawn a bunch of barrels and walk on those, but with some precise jump spacing, you can actually make it across.
Nice.
That was really good.
Another thing to mention is the sock that he got before that was in the air is completed by the bowling challenge, and you can just like cheese that by just grabbing it with cruise boosting.
So
okay,
Univa,
so on Univa's screen, he nailed the LCB. LCBs are fairly new, I'd say. Not new, but just recently implemented.
yeah.
But when you cruise boost off a specific ledge or specific ledges, it allows you to capture more displacement, and it speeds you up a whole lot more than a regular cruise boost would. So,
Yeah, so
what an LCB accomplishes here, well, you can do it without an LCB, but you can go down the slide and destroy all of the Sandmen in one go, where previously we would have to make 2 trips.
So if you're unfamiliar with kind of how cruise boosting works and how they are able to move so fast, so when you bowl in this game, there's like a separate memory address that's related to your bowling speed. And when you use the cruise bubble in the same frame as the bubble bowl, the game recognizes that like you start bowling, but it never like goes through the action to make you stop bowling. So you just always kind of have that state where like you're always being like pushed forward by the bubble bowl, in quotes, because like you're not really shooting a bubble bowl. And also your turning speed is a lot slower. This strat from Univa is really sick, by the way. I saw him do that earlier.
Whoa.
So
It's a very clean SM1.
I've never seen that strat from the pipe sock before today.
Me neither.
But yeah, to kind of continue, so when you do a normal, that's unfortunate. When you do a normal speed cruise boost, you have to do the first input so that you can't like turn to the side as easily, because being in a bowling state doesn't allow you to turn as fast. And when you do the second input, your bowling speed effectively becomes the speed at which you were moving to the sides. So when you do the second cruise boost input, your bowling speed gets locked at that. So effectively, you can move, I think it's a little bit over twice as fast with a normal speed cruise boost, but the way that an LCB works is that the vector that your bowling speed is calculated at actually uses your vertical displacement as well. So if you slide off a ledge when you do the second cruise boost input, you can actually capture a lot more speed than normal.
There you go. Very nice geo to clip by Crawfish.
Yeah, that's actually like a deceptive.
No.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. So when you get the clip out, the trick's not really over. So the reason you have to clip out here is because Spongebob doesn't really have a way to open the gate to continue through the caves. So the way that we do this is we clip out of bounds and activate a checkpoint on the other side of the gate, and then die to respawn over there. But Crawfish was going for a slightly riskier but slightly faster strat where you cruise boost, and then you run over to the goo to drown, instead of like walking over to the spikes without a cruise boost. But yeah, obviously there's some risk associated with that, because if you miss your cruise boost input, you can just bowl off the side, and then you have to do the entire trick again. So Univa doing Goo Lagoon at this point, and he's actually going for a route which I've said that I wish more people honestly knew about this route for Goo Lagoon. Because if you saw, he jumped on top of an umbrella after getting his cruise boost, so he avoided the checkpoint by the castle. So he's gonna go for a drown after the spatula animation here for the kid spatula, and he's gonna respawn like closer to Bubble Buddy.
Very interesting.
That angle's not good though. He might get checkpointed out in the goo. Yeah,
Oh,
that
no.
angle is unfortunate. You want to turn your camera more so that you go more to the right. So that's kind of unfortunate. He lost an additional like 5 seconds or so. And now he's going for one of my favorite tricks in the run, just out of bounds moat.
This clip is so cool. Looks like Crawfish is going for Drain the Lake clip.
If he gets this, is going to be big. That camera angle is kind of weird. Okay, yeah, he's going to give up on that.
Looks like he's opting to do it casually instead of re-attempting it.
That's honestly
what he was
like
attempting there. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good race strat to just kind of give up on it if you don't get it.
Yeah.
If you're not really confident, you can get it second try.
So what Crawfish was going to attempt there is, it's kind of complicated how it works, but pretty much, I'll try to sum it up pretty easily. When you have some downwards momentum in the game, your gravity doesn't reset with an active cruise boost, so he bashed off the fountain to get some more downwards momentum, and then while mashing pause and start, pause and return, along with L, it pretty much messes with the collision, so you can clip through the ground thanks to extra lag and having a cruise boost and down momentum. And he was going to go under the lake, back up on some terrain, and jump up and get the spatula from below without throwing the robots at the fountain.
Yeah, it's really important in this category because it saves like around 40 seconds as opposed to doing the fight with Patrick. In other categories, it doesn't really save as much time, but it's still a really fast spatula, so at like top level routes, it's still in almost every category that actually completes the game, goes to jellyfish fields and all that. So Univa is also going to go for barrel skip here. I expect that Univa shouldn't really have problems with this. Okay, this checkpoint down here is really weird. I'd never thought that you could like walk around where Univa just was before attempting the jump, but yeah, I don't think that gives you the checkpoint, so that's kind of strange. There is an invisible checkpoint down there that you have to avoid in order to do this route, because if you respawn down there, you're losing a bunch of time because you have to rework to where Gary is and then go all the way back. Ooh, I think he barely...
I think that's a miss.
Didn't Crawfish miss that too?
He did, yeah. What they are attempting there is to collect the spatula before the loading screen begins, and in doing so, you can skip the animation.
That was super close for Crawfish. Oh my god. So, that's like a different route that people have started doing in the past few months where you use that like little teeter-totter thing to go up and collect the spatula from the backside instead of the front. And doing that allows you to sort of lock your camera and get pushed towards the gate and save some time. Some people opt to go for a ledge grab there, and normally a ledge grab animation is like 2 seconds, but with that one it gives you more time to set up a better camera angle, so it's not quite a 2-second time loss to ledge grab there. Yeah, ideally you would just skip the ledge grab and just go for it and set up your camera on your way up. But it does save a decent chunk of time if you get it. But there is the risk of falling off and losing like 20 seconds.
The alternative is to just use the wall jumps, but you won't get the push to the gate. So it's a few seconds slower, but it's like pretty much risk-free.
Crawfish doing the swag reverse cruise boost. Not quite the like technical term RCB, but like turned around camera cruise boost rather.
180 cruise boost.
I wonder if he'll do it in rooftops. That one's like super sick. So what he was probably going for on that spatula was if you get your camera locked, it's like the same concept as the one we were just talking about with the teeter-totter. you can get like pushed more towards your objective and save some time because you have to watch the spatula animation anyway. So it's better to be getting pushed towards objectives and stuff during spatula animations when at all possible. Alright, Univa kind of had some trouble with that geode clip, but yeah, now we'll see if he doesn't fall off like Crawfish did.
Alright, there we go.
So we're in rock bottom here with Crawfish. He's actually doing the warpless route. I don't know if that saves time in non-warpless categories.
It's always cool to see. Warpless gang.
The normal strat people would do is just talk to Bubble Buddy and then immediately go get the spatula. But yeah, the route he's doing, he's gonna death warp during the spatula and appear back at the checkpoint he got. You kind of have to go out of your way a little bit to get that checkpoint, but I think it saves time, maybe? I'm not entirely sure if it saves time in non-warpless categories.
3 years running. Thank you.
Oh, that was a sketchy rock skip from Univa. He still got it. Alright, now we're gonna see Crawfish make his way to Museum, and this is, I think, one of the, like, low-key harder segments to, like, perfect at the top level. That was really scary.
Sketchy.
Is he going for the one frame?
Looks like Univa's attempting Drain the Light clip too.
Ooh, Univa got that
very
really
quick
fast.
clip.
Is he gonna make it? This is gonna be close. Okay.
Very nice.
Really good Drain the Light clip from Univa. That's gonna be a nice 40 seconds he has over Crawfish here.
Meanwhile, Crawfish is attempting Cruise Boost Museum. When you get a ledge grab on one of these swinging tires, you can clip straight through the wall during the ledge grab, which allows us to skip past these barriers that you normally have to disable casually.
Yeah, Crawfish doing the newer route and going around the right side to get that sock. Oh, and doing the Ringo strats, going down on the lower balcony. Some more direct movement. Okay, so the strats with these teeter-totters, there's like a lot of ways to get up to the spatula at that point, but Crawfish kind of took it safe and went around to set himself up, which is respectable. Yeah, this movement is just nuts. if you are not used to seeing it.
Yeah, Museum is definitely one of the flashiest parts of the entire run. Just so cool to watch.
I don't generally agree with people going for that cruise boost because it saves like 1 second if you get it first try. But yeah, he went for it.
It's always good to save 1 second if you know you can get it. Higher risk, higher reward. The RCB saves more time, I'd imagine, yeah.
Yeah, the RCB is like 2 seconds. So we're gonna see another damage boost here. This is actually the only one of these damage boosts you see after Industrial Park.
Yeah, it's a rare instance of damage boosting still being fast, even when you already have cruise boosting unlocked. There is a cruise boost way to get it that's like fairly recent, but it's only like a couple seconds slower.
That method doesn't really get the artwork though, so it's kind of weird in 100%. Yeah. You have to do like the old strats before everyone did Sleepy Skip if you don't want to go for it.
Yeah, it's not very viable in 100%. Oh no.
That's unfortunate. Is he gonna just, take the death here?
That platform that he missed is on a swinging, it's like it tilts back and forth on a cycle, and it looks like he got the worst cycle.
I think you can always make that if you have like a max speed cruise boost and you space the jumps right. But that might have just been some unfortunate planning on his part. He might not have known where the cycle was going to be, didn't know he had to account for it or something along those lines. Univa is like a level behind Crawfish, but he does have Sand Mountain 2 done already. Oh, that was super close.
That was so close. Yikes.
God. Yeah, Univa did already complete Sand Mountain 2, so And that's a really long segment as well, compared to some of these other ones. Univa, okay. Yeah, he does the route where he ends the run with the hands enabled, so he's going to do these levels, Kelp Forest and Flying Dutchman's Graveyard, that require the hand to be disabled, because he can't do them later in the run when the hand is enabled.
The hand being enabled is very useful in Rock Bottom because when you complete the lasers challenge, you can slide off the cliff after pressing the final laser button and just skip the cutscene thanks to Hans. And then in doing so, you'll spawn right back at the beginning. Also, Univa fell off the campers. That hurts.
That first button is like deceptively hard to hit if you're doing this. There's
if
a
you miss
strat
it, you don't
that...
like bounce and you just like slide. You're not able to recover it really.
There's a strat that doesn't hit that button and still gets this camper, but it's pretty inconsistent to save time with, I think.
Yeah, it's very weird, precise movement with like invisible hitboxes and all that.
Also,
Kind of go like out of bounds and back in bounds.
In the trench, we didn't see Crawfish do the clam early route, but we might see it from Univa, I'm not sure. So doing the clam first and shooting one of the lasers with the cruise bubble saves some time. Depending on what strats you do, I think it's like 5 to 10 seconds. So we might see Univa go for it. But Crawfish is doing this kind of newer strat in Dream 3 where he's going to be abusing the fact that the hand's enabled to respawn at the start of the level here.
Oh, that's another warpless strat. That's really interesting.
He set up his camera angle on the way up too. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's like a invisible checkpoint at the first like divider of the music sheet, and dodging that checkpoint lets you spawn right back at the gate and just walk away.
I'm not sure if this was ever timed for non-warpless categories, but I think someone said that it saves a few seconds. But you do need to have some extra shiny objects to pay that clam, but obviously he went a little bit over an SPA.
Looks like
Which
Crawfish
isn't really
nails
hard.
the cutscene skip.
Yeah, it's not really hard to go over on shinies with 2TP, but it is something you have to keep in mind. Yeah, a little cutscene skip there, another reason why the hand is useful. That cutscene skip, I think, saves like 8 seconds or so. Meanwhile, Univa going for the strats in Kelp Vines with keeping his cruise boost, which is honestly kind of difficult if you've never done it before, but you know, Univa is someone that grinds these things out, makes sure he can do them in high pressure situations. Alright, and Kelp Caves here is perhaps one of the most interesting sections of the entire run. He's going to do a really precise trick where he stands on top of one of these vines and bashes off of it at like the max height and gets his grounded moves back on this rock.
There you go, second try, very nice.
Yeah, pretty good. You never want to see someone
also attempting out of bounds mode. Go ahead.
You never want to see someone just sitting there for like a while trying to get that vine climb strat.
Yeah, that vine climb is very difficult, especially under pressure.
It's an interesting place to cruise boost. I never knew you could cruise boost there.
That's some good knowledge.
Alright, so if it wasn't explained before, these kids are all in a cycle, and with the route, oh, that's so unfortunate.
Oh no.
But the route Crawfish was doing, you can miss one cruise boost and still make that cycle. Any more than that, and you're kind of going to have to improvise a little bit, depending on like the directions the first and second kids go. Yeah, he's going to have to wait here a little bit. Looks like Univa had a pretty solid Kelp Caves. It was pretty fast. There is a strat you can do here that saves like 8 seconds where you clip out of bounds and ledge grab back into the map to not have to open one of those gates that he opened earlier. But that strat is really precise, and if you don't get the ledge grab version, then you're not saving time with it. So recently a lot of runners have opted to just open the gate instead of going for that.
Crawfish nearly avoided drowning, or he did avoid drowning, but just barely.
I've been seeing that a lot recently. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's intentional that a lot of people go for it, or just coincidence.
Looks like Univa is going for a swamp cage clip. This is another lag clip. And nailed it.
Yeah, that was really good. Okay, so yeah, if you use the cruise bubble on the first frame you respawn there, you can skip the spatula animation, but it's not a big deal if you don't get it. It's just a neat little time save. But doing that swamp cage clip is a lot faster in 100% than most other categories because you have to jump off that bridge and go get these other campers and stocks in 100%. So like if you didn't do swamp cage clip, you would drown after getting the spatula and go back up there anyway. So it saves a bunch of time in 100%. It still saves time in every other category that goes to kelp forest, but even more so in this.
So Univa collects the final camper and is on his way back to collect Mrs. Puff's reward. And then right after here, there's a weird sock where you have to bowl a row of tikis in a row without missing a single one to get the sock. It's like pretty trivial, but missing it is a substantial.
I think all the game checks for here is that all the tikis are destroyed and that you destroyed the first and the last one within a certain time frame. And then if you did both of those things, then I think the sock is spawned at that point. So we're seeing rooftops from Crawfish. This is one of my favorite segments to watch in 100%.
Again, we're using the hand to abuse checkpoints and respawn back at places that are useful. So he's going for the RCB. This bash off the fence is kind of precise, but got it first try. Very clean rooftops like Crawfish.
I had to mess with some mic issues for a second. Hopefully it'll sound a little bit better. Hopefully, of course. Alright, so we're gonna see Crawfish go for, I think this is a 2-frame hand disable. I think the modders confirmed that it was 2 frames, but he got it.
Gets it after a couple tries. Very good.
That setup was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that before, but it works. See, with the hand disabled, Univa is able to jump down into this bungee challenge without getting grabbed. You just collect the spatula that way and unlock the warp.
Yeah,
So by doing that, you can effectively skip like half of this part of the level.
Yeah, doing this portion of downtown with rooftops and lighthouse and everything is pretty much the end of the hand-enabled portion in the route Crawfish is doing. So at this point, he's going to be moving on to the areas like Kelp Forest, Graveyard, Sand Mountain 2, Murmulair 2. We had almost synchronized spatula animations. That's weird that Crawfish saves this comeback with the cruise bubble spatula for later. The one in the sea needle. Usually I see people either do it like right after the extreme bungee spatula or like as like the first thing they do in Downtown 2.
Oh,
that
no,
was
Univa missing the
unfortunate for
button.
Univa.
Yikes.
He might have to wait for these platforms. Now they're back up.
Those platforms are weird because they only rise back up when you're a certain distance away from them.
Oh, is that what does
again.
it? I thought it was a time-based thing. I was never sure what made those platforms come back up fast enough.
Yeah, I only found out recently because me and some friends were doing routing for warpless and figured out that they only come back up when you're a distance away from them. It's time-based too, but it's also distance.
Here we are.
So one thing that's interesting about the Dutchman's Graveyard is, on the robot ship, you see these electrical cannons destroying the cannonballs. Casually, you would have to destroy those cannons so the cannonballs can destroy the target and take you to the Flying Dutchman boss fight. But the devs made a mistake, and even if you do not complete the electrical cannon challenge, the warp still unlocks. So you can complete the level without destroying a single electric cannon.
So Crawfish also having some trouble with this button in the woods. Yeah, Univa had to make the trip over the robot ship for that one lonely sock over there. Graveyard is actually one of the levels that's like the most similar across every category.
So Univa going for a Dutchman skip.
He's going for front sub here.
Front sub gang.
The faster movement. Not quite the fastest movement, but it's definitely faster than some other strategies.
So what happened there is, when the developers were developing this boss fight, along with a couple other boss fights, they used these invisible boxes as triggers, where if you touch them, it just ends the fight immediately and gives you the reward. So, casually, like, you would never be able to reach those, but in a speedrun environment, of course, you can just touch those triggers and skip the entire fight. The prawn fight in the Phase 1 of Robo Spongebob has the same tech.
Univa did another lag clip. I think that's the last lag clip of the run in this route. Yeah, he just clipped through the top of the cage, so he fell on top of the spatula. It's the same concept of lag clipping as DTLC in the swamp cage, but it's just a lot simpler in what it actually accomplishes. Meanwhile, Univa is on downtown. Univa is actually going to do this a different way than Crawfish did it. He's going to be going to rooftops first and then to the sea needle because he doesn't need to disable the hand in his route again, so he's just going to do the faster route and go straight from here to rooftops.
Crawfish nearly fell off the vines there, but was very luckily able to recover that. What he just did there is, since we sequence break Kelp Forest, we enter the end of the level thanks to cruise boosting, kind of similar to Goo Lagoon. We spawn at the bottom of the slide, and that lets us open up the box to go to the top of the slide. So we accept the time challenge, we start the timer, and then we teleport back down to the end of the slide. We trigger the completion, and then we just go back and collect the reward. But we have to go back down the slide regardless to pick up this sock.
Univa went for that tartar sauce strat. That strat is kind of RNG based, but you can bash off of the tartar bot's head and go straight up to this pipe where he was just now. It saves a few seconds, but yeah, it's kind of based on the position of him, whether you can actually get it or not. Crawfish doing GameCube route, doing this part of Kelp Caves first. It doesn't actually matter which part you do first, but yeah, probably another remnant of GameCube strategies. Because you would do this first on GameCube and then walk back to where he is. Oh, it looks like he's just gonna do it anyway. It's a little bit slower on Xbox, but you know, you don't have to cruise boost a second time, so it's probably a little bit safer for him.
Looks like he's opting to hit the button before Vine Climb.
Yeah, it's interesting that some people opt for this route because, in my experience, it's harder to set up a Vine Climb from an angle like this. But, you know, everyone's got their own setup for this trick, for getting on top of the spot you need to stand on.
I guess that also removes the risk of accidentally stepping on the pressure plate with a cruise boost, because doing that plays like a miniature cutscene. It kind of throws you off track. There goes Crawfish getting the dash.
I think that was like 3rd or 4th try.
You know, still in a reasonable amount of time, similar to Univa. I guess they broke even in that regard.
Alright, Univa having a pretty good rooftops. It's always nice to see. You can lose a bunch of time on rooftops if you fall off. I like that strat Crawfish went for, climbing up that rock to get that crystal. I don't see a lot of people go for it, and it saves a little bit of time. Right, so overall, not a bad kelp caves from Crawfish, which is definitely what you want to see. This is definitely a section where people can just crumble in races and lose a bunch of time.
It looks like Crawfish is not going for Swamp Cage, but he's going to hit the button to open the cage instead.
It's funny, even that is unintentional. You're supposed to go over there with Patrick and hit that button. But yeah, you can just, for some reason they programmed it so that anybody can hit that button, so just hit it with a cruise bubble. Alright, Univa with that fast puff boost.
That was clean.
The character cruise boosting is actually like a completely different aspect of cruise boosting, because normally when you see people doing cruise boosts, besides like LCBs and stuff, it's generally on surfaces that are completely flat. Like the walls that they're facing are completely flat, but characters like Mrs. Puff and Krabs and even some of the other ones like Plankton and Patrick, they don't really see in many instances. A lot of the characters are completely like rounded off surfaces, so
Yeah.
getting a good cruise boost on them is pretty difficult.
It also saves time in a lot of cases because you get what's called a cruise cancel, where you get your second cruise boost, but it cancels the second animation since you slide off the rounded object. So it's like similar to an RCB in that regard, even though it's not like sideways or reversed. But there also exist some characters where their hitboxes are like flat, like Squidward. You can like RCB off of them.
Yeah, Squidward, Bubble Buddy, and Larry all have flat hitboxes, even though it wouldn't look like they do. So if you kind of know where the edges of their hitboxes are, then it's a lot easier to set up consistent cruise boosts on them.
Exact. I personally find using like background scenery really helps get yourself lined up.
It's still kind of weird to get used to though, because the characters will turn to face you.
Yeah, but I don't think that affects the hitbox at all.
Yeah, the hitboxes don't change, but
Yeah, it's just their models.
yeah. Yeah, Crawfish got that lodge bash. That's like a deceptively hard bash, because you just barely make it up there. It looks like Crawfish is going to be going for the LCB. If this goes well for him, then that can save upwards of like 40 to 50 seconds or something like that. Depending on
how this will definitely save him a lot of time.
We got it. Is
there
it
he
fast? It's not really that fast. I don't think it's going to work out if he does. Yeah, he's just going
he's going for it again. Good call.
There's like a range of speeds that you can get from LCBs, and only a certain range will let you finish the slide with these strats. Because
it's like, oh no, Univa falls off.
So there's a trampoline that Crawfish is going to use in the middle of the slide,
I'm the fastest
and
to it.
when you have a cruise boost on these scripted trampolines that are supposed to like make you land in a specific spot every time, when you have a cruise boost, you don't really get sent in that way at all. You just kind of keep going the same way you're going. So for the next trampoline that Crawfish is going to use, he's going to like if your cruise boost isn't fast enough, you just don't have the speed to make it up here.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So yeah, you need to not only get the LCD, you need to get one that's fast enough to make that platform there for this route to work.
I'm the fastest.
And then
It
it's
looks
not
like
even.
Crawfish is opting for Sandy now.
Yeah, it's respectable. Like he doesn't want to lose too much more time. Even if you get a fast enough LCB, it's not over. You still have to do some precise platforming to make it up on top of the ice pillars because you can't use the swingers that Sandy uses. I'm surprised he still went the way that where the sock was Sandy, because you can just like go down lower and not have to go up there. Save some time.
Yeah, he already did get that sock, right? Yeah. But I guess it's just muscle memory coming into play.
Okay, yeah,
Oh,
that was
no, this is bad.
was looking really close.
It's gonna
He
be
might still be able to
extremely
make it. So yeah, one of the risks of this Sandy time challenge strat is that one mistake is going to make this extremely tight. So if he gets like a bad angle anywhere on one of these jumps on the slide, or if he loses his speed anywhere, then he pretty much has to reload the level and try again to get the time challenge completed. So if you make no mistakes on this Sandy time challenge strat, the best amount of time I've seen remaining on the timer is like 7 seconds. So with that mistake, he might be closer to like 2 or 3 seconds remaining on the timer if he still makes it.
It's gonna be very close.
Yeah, now Univa is going through rock bottom right now. This is pretty much the last like full level he has to do. Except, did he do Murmler too? I don't remember if he did.
I don't think so.
It's kind of weird then that he leaves Murmler 2 for later on.
Yeah. Murmler 2 is pretty short, especially since he got the sock in ballroom early. So all he has to do is security tunnel sock, prawn skip, and ballroom flip. And the lobby sock.
I don't think it loses menuing time because he has to do Dream 3 yet. So he has to be scrolling down in the menu anyway, so
Thankfully Crawfish did make it in time for the challenge, but like we were talking about earlier, there was an example of the slide momentum just totally getting removed. If you like go off the edge of the slide without jumping.
yeah, these slides were not programmed very well, so there's a lot of spots where you can just lose your speed for no reason.
Crawfish making it there with 1 second left is truly something.
Yeah, that just goes to show if you know your way around these slides, you can make a mistake and still make it. It's not over.
Yeah, like there still is some leeway, but you have to kind of know what you're doing.
It's also one of the advantages of doing runs with like what would be considered lower level strategies instead of just like I feel like a lot of the top runners of other categories that picked up 100% within the last few months or so kind of just went towards the more advanced strategies right away instead of learning these lower level strategies, which can kind of cost you in races sometimes if you need to revert back to these strats. Alright, but Univa had a solid sleepy skip. It looks like he's not going to be doing the climb early route either. It feels bad.
Looks like Crawfish is kind of struggling to get this ledge cancel cruise boost. I think he Did he? No, okay.
That looked like it worked, but it
Yeah.
didn't give him the speed.
Very strange.
Yeah, these LCBs are very angle dependent, position dependent, and it also depends a lot on your ability to do the cruise boost inputs at the right time. So yeah, these are not easy. These take a lot of effort to start implementing in your runs. Hey, Univa has 88 spatulas. I feel like he already did Murmulaire 2. He's gonna get 2 here, and then he's gonna get 2 from Dream 3.
Alright, so it looks like Crawfish is conceding and just doing Sandman 1 cycle without the LCB. It's like he got a normal speed. Oh no.
Ooh. I don't know if he had to reload there. There might be a spot off the slide where you could get a cruise boost, but if you don't know where, then yeah, it makes sense. Just reload.
Would it still be possible to complete the time challenge?
If you do timer stop, yeah. Which if
Oh,
you don't
right.
if you don't have an LCB, then you're gonna be doing timer stop here.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. It's gonna take a pretty big mistake from Univa at this point, I think. Still a lot of clubs, maybe, but I don't know. I don't think either of these guys are necessarily unhappy about this race, though. It's still a pretty good race.
There have been a lot of high points for both runners.
Yeah, consistency in late game and consistency with a lot of these tricks is the name of the game. So yeah, Univa showcasing the other route for getting a Krabs' Dream. Do you know how much time it saves? Oh, he didn't get the pause.
Oh,
That's
no.
unfortunate. He's gonna have to watch the cutscene here.
I'm not entirely sure how much the two routes are different from each other. Like, I don't know which one is faster or not, or how much which one saves.
Well, the one
It's
that
kind of cool to
ends,
see like the difference between the two.
Oh, you're talking about Krabs' Dream. Okay.
Oh yeah, I thought you were talking about Dragon's Dream.
I thought for a second you were talking about like the whole game route. I was like, yeah.
No.
Alright. Oh, that Crawfish, gotta be careful here.
Ooh, 1 health left. Oh
What?
no.
What? Okay, so taking the death there, I don't know if that was intentional, but he doesn't have the time challenge.
It was very, very unfortunate. He has to start from the beginning again now.
So when you miss that, you can go to the bottom of the slide and avoid the checkpoint and get killed by one of the robots down there and respawn where he did, like halfway up the slide, but
Yeah.
yeah, obviously you don't want to take that death before finishing the time challenge.
It's very unfortunate. This hurts to see.
I wonder if he knows the fast route without the LCB and without the Sandman. Kinda, but not really. Okay.
Normally you would like go down onto the ground and like jump onto that loop, right?
No, you would do the billboard jump. Alright, so this is the first race of the day, so make sure you guys stick around for after this. We're gonna have more races. We're gonna have the other semifinals match, and then the bronze match for 3rd and 4th place, and then the grands. So
Alright, so Univa just made the final trades to Patrick. And is entering the Chum Bucket Lab with 98 spatulas, and there's 2 more ahead.
So the one kind of interesting thing about this route is that he has the hand enabled, so he can't do like the beginner / intermediate route for the brain where you do the damage boost and go down. He actually has to go for fast brain with this route, which for someone of Univa's skill level, I imagine isn't going to be much of a problem, but I mean, if you're not that used to doing fast brain every single run, then it can be kind of a manga.
The trampoline jump is probably the hardest part about it. But then there's still much more after that.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard stuff to do in here.
There's even like alternate routes, one of which is faster but is much more riskier. So it looks like he's going for the fast route.
Yeah, he probably recognizes that he's ahead, just going for it.
This is the down clip that
he doesn't have enough
notorious
down momentum, I think. Okay, that time he got more downward momentum. Alright, solid fast brain.
129.44.
It's honestly pretty good for a race time, considering his PB's like, isn't it like a 127?
Yeah, I think it's a low 127.
And considering that beginning, that's a pretty respectable time considering the beginning of this race.
Crawfish gets second try ballroom clip.
Alright, just prawn skip and then flying Dutchman's graveyard and then chum bucket.
This is another instance of hitting the invisible trigger out of bounds. It skips the entire fight.
Looks like Univa should be joining us soon, maybe, for an interview.
The graveyard.
Alright, so a lot of people I feel like don't understand how this sock works when they try implementing it for the first time.
Yeah.
It's all about this mechanic of the slam, where if you hold down the A button as you slam on an object that like pops you up, you get more height for some reason. So that's the reason he was able to make it up onto that platform just off.
It's a really weird quirk. And this sock used to be done before that was found, and it used to be pretty tough to get.
Yeah, before that strat was known about, you would have to like land back on the pole and then double jump up. And it was really sketchy.
Yeah, staying on that small platform is very tough with a cruise boost.
There is a pretty good beginner strat for that sock where you can like go where the first chuck is off to the right and jump off the tombstones to go over where the sock is, but you know, lose a little bit of time.
One thing that's great about that sock that Crawfish gets is that you can just grab it from under the platform.
Yeah,
like,
they made
normally it's like halfway through the level.
They made the radius for that sock like stretch underneath that platform, so you can just grab it like that. And it's pretty convenient that you can just do that because I don't want to imagine how slow that sock would be if you couldn't do that.
Truly a blessing.
Ooh, Crawfish, that was... Ooh. I feel like he wasn't prepared to get caught like that. It's an interesting angle to bash up there.
Yeah. See, like, a majority of people bash up from the right side, but that was from the left.
Going up like that looks faster, but like riskier.
Yeah, I'd imagine that Chuck would be an issue, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. I feel like it's just way more likely that you're gonna bonk your head going for that. We got the big cutscene here. Is this like the longest cutscene we watched in the entire game?
I believe so.
It's either that or like Shady Shoals. And there's
I
like
think Shady
past
Shoals
strats
might
you
be
can-
second longest.
They
One thing
give
to
you-
note about this cutscene is that you can get the spatula on top of there first, and then start the cutscene after this, and collect the spatula during the cutscene, and it does save a little bit of time.
Yeah, you still move around during cutscenes if you have a cruise boost. So, ooh, he's going for
Yeah.
this strat.
Ooh.
Wait. Okay, yeah, that was. He
Interesting.
definitely fell down there at some point where he didn't need to. But that was still pretty cool.
Yeah.
That swingers bounce strat used to save a lot more time before somebody found out you can bash off of a different set of barrels near where the sock is. Crawfish also going for front sub. Respect it. Did he get the bounce off of that?
Yeah, he got both bounces.
That was actually... that would have been like pretty optimal if he got the cruise boost first try.
Yeah.
For the strats, that is.
It's like the second bounce on the top part of that structure doesn't happen often. And when it does save like a second or so.
Oh, that's interesting. He jumps off the box to set up the down momentum. Okay, his camera angle is kind of weird. I would... Okay, well, he still got it. I would turn the camera more so that, like, more stuff past the duplicator is showing. But, you know, if it works, it works.
Yeah. I feel like it's pretty lenient. So Crawfish now trading in the remaining socks, finishing everything up just before the final boss.
I think this is gonna be like a mid 138 if he goes for fast brain. Not entirely sure though. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely props to Crawfish for coming this far, dude. The pools in this tourney before the top 8 bracket started were not easy.
And here we are, folks, the main
So even
event.
making it into the
It
top
goes
8
with the
is
first
pretty hard, and then
opening.
he beat Jared in round 1 as well. So
The robot better
definitely
change
props to
tactics
Crawfish for
and
coming this
fast.
far.
Very respectable for sure.
I guess Spongebob won't be winning that way. Yikes!
There
I
he goes,
am
getting the
surprised.
second
I'm surprised
try.
you got that.
This is very close. Yeah, he had to do the
Will
double jump to hit that
SpongeBob be
trigger.
able to neutralize the giant robot's
Well,
brain?
he's gonna go for fast brain. I feel like you're almost obligated to at this point.
There we go, getting up first try.
Yeah, this clip is a little weird.
Yeah, it's a really weird clip. Looks like he's going for the 3-second slower route. This one is... Oh no.
That was super unfortunate. At least he can
Yeah.
go do like the other route now when he makes it back up.
The faster route is very risky because, again, there's this down clip that has a chance of getting you stuck completely.
Yeah, it's good that he knew the other route though, so he could just go back up and go the other way.
Oh, and he...
Slamming the fuse.
There we go.
Fans. 138. Honestly, not that bad of a time. right, man. Now it looks like we're gonna have some interviews.
Hello?
Yo, what's up?
Hello.
Yo, what's up, boys?
Yeah, so that beginning from both of you guys was something else, but y'all played really, really well.
Yeah, early game was rough. I missed RSS so many times.
Oh, you did too?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I missed like super bounce twice. That was pretty bad.
Oh, we had like identical early games.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very similar.
Congrats, Univa.
Yeah, thanks. Good game.
GG.
All right, that was definitely a really entertaining race to watch.
Yeah, it was pretty tight for like the beginning and mid game.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's battle.
Yeah.
Battle is battle.
I'm pretty surprised with how well Sand Mountain went for me. That was like first try LCD and then I got SM1C.
Nice.
It was a very clean SM1C for sure. Slick and fast cycle.
Slick and fast cycle. Okay, so that's the conclusion of this race. So up next after this, we're going to be having Jack versus Flux in the other match of semifinals. And then after that, we're going to be having the bronze match for third and fourth place, and then grand finals. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. And it looks like we're going to be heading to intermission soon. You guys got anything else you want to add?
I'm good.
Yeah, I can do better next time, but that's battle. Yeah, GG.
GG's.
Congratulations, Crawfish, for making it this far in the tournament.
Thank you, yeah.
And Univa, I hope grand finals goes well for you.
Thanks.